Star Wars The Last Jedi, finally in theaters. Can't wait to talk about this with you guys. This is, in my opinion, one of the best films I've seen this year, and I'm not exaggerating that. I really do like this movie. So, Star Wars The Last Jedi is directed by Rian Johnson, also written by Rian Johnson. I believe it is still produced by J.J. Abrams. And, this movie's fucking awesome. I loved most of the movie. There's a part of the movie, this is going to contain spoilers, so there is this part of the movie, so I want to discuss my negatives first. The positives, there are too many positives that outweigh the negatives, so might as well get the negatives over with first. First off, the casino planet. Didn't care for it. I don't even remember the name of it. That's how misplaced it was. And I feel had they placed it a little more in sync with the actual movie, it would have made more sense. But they didn't, and they fucked up the pacing with it. So, that kind of sucks. Rose, I didn't like Rose's character. Rose Ticto was a bit of a waste. I thought she was going to have more of an importance to the Resistance other than being just an engineer. I didn't think she was going to be a Force user. Hell no, I didn't think that. I was expecting her to be all different. I wasn't expecting her, like, as I said, like 3 times already in less than a minute, for her to be a Force user. I was expecting her to still be an engineer. I was expecting her to just be, like, some related character, like, either, and she was a related character, but she was a related character to a character who dies at the beginning of the movie to destroy the most amazing Star Wars ship I have ever seen in my entire life, the Dreadnought. That thing is stunningly awesome, and it's gorgeous. If you have not seen this thing, look up a picture of the Dreadnought. It looks gorgeous. And I'm sorry if I sound stuffy, it's because I am. I'm a bit sick. Do it. Anyway, so yeah, it is a sequel to Force Awakens. You can easily not tell that immediately. I mean, unless you saw Force Awakens, in which case that scene on Act 2 where Rey hands the lightsaber to Luke, and it's like, who are you? Because that is a direct continuation from Force Awakens, and you can easily tell it from the beginning of the film. And the film takes place in like 2-3 days. That kind of ruins the pacing a bit. Because when you think about it, space doesn't really have any time. So they're really just spending the time that they have floating through space. And in my opinion, this year, I'm going to say this up front. I did not like Star Wars Rogue One. I hated it. It was the worst Star Wars movie I think I've ever seen other than Attack of the Clones. I think it's the worst Star Wars film I've seen since Attack of the Clones, and that's saying a lot. Because that movie sucked on so many levels of balls of the entire franchise. I still would say, I think that the hardest part of a trilogy, not necessarily a Star Wars trilogy, but a trilogy in general, is the entirety of it. You can't, like, the middle section of a trilogy is always going to be the hardest because you have to make it, you don't have to make it better than the first. No, you have to make it better than the first, or at least try to make it as good as the first, because you made this amazing film. It's getting a sequel. You're making a trilogy for it. Your film has to be either better or as good as the first, which is always the hardest part because you always have to make sure of that. If you don't have that, your movie's gonna suck. That's one of the reasons I love Empire Strikes Back, is because I didn't hold it to any standard. I didn't hold George Lucas to any standard after I saw A New Hope. And guess what? He didn't even direct the movie. It was Irvin Kershner. By the way, rest in peace. You were amazing. The film was so much better than A New Hope, not because of the fact that they wanted it to make it, they wanted to make it bigger and better, but because they wanted it to be a different movie. They wanted it to stand on its own, and that's exactly what most of the original trilogy did with A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. I do think that Return of the Jedi was a little heavy on the entirety of like, hey, we're not going to have a completely coherent story, but it's going to be coherent at the same time, which doesn't really make any sense. It's more of a, I was going to say a hyperbole, but what's the fucking word I'm thinking of? It's more of a contradiction. It's more of an oxymoron than it is fact. Because as much as I love the original trilogy, I'd still say Return of the Jedi is the weakest. And in my opinion, ranking the new Star Wars trilogy, when we haven't even seen the final installment yet, I don't think you can rank the Star Wars movies until you've seen the last installment of a trilogy. And in my opinion, this film feels like a final installment in a trilogy for some reason. I don't know why, it just does. Probably because we got Rogue One last year. Who would have thought? Because now we're up to 9 Star Wars movies. Can you believe that? 40 years of Star Wars. Holy shit. That happened in what? May 4th? I want to say May 14th, but I don't want to say May 14th, so I'm not going to say May 14th. But yeah, we've had this year 40 years of Star Wars, and that's nuts. So, let's talk about the score. The score is way more memorable than the score from The Force Awakens. Everybody's been saying it. I'm not gonna be the first. I'm not gonna be the last to say it. The score is so much more memorable for this film than it was last time around. It was way more memorable than Rogue One's score. I did not like Rogue One's score. It felt too... Michael Giacchino tried to be too nostalgic, which kind of didn't serve in his favor, so... And in my opinion, the best score of the entire film was probably the battle on Crate. And that shit went hard. With the sequel trilogy, Resistance, then you get, like, halfway, I don't want to say halfway, like, the second third, you get the original trilogy from A New Hope, and then in the last part, you get the prequel trilogy, and it's all wrapped up in a nice little bow. It is pretty cool. It's, I love that song, and I listen to it constantly on it, since it was released. Also, the finale, beautiful, and when the words in memory of our princess, Carrie Fisher, popped up, I just started crying. I was sat in the theater like this, through the entire fanfare, thinking, what the hell did I just watch? And what I saw didn't disappoint me. What I saw astounded me. It gave me a reason to feel emotion. It made me feel a certain way. And I like that. I like when a movie can do that. If a movie can do that, that is what makes the movie good for me. That's like saying, hey, I want to watch Arrow over here, and say, oh, if Green Arrow doesn't kill anybody, I'm not gonna watch the show anymore. That's what I like about the Star Wars movies. They don't always kill their enemies because they know it's not the right thing to do. They know what they have to do, and they know what they have to do. Excuse me. And they know what they have to do to survive, and with the First Order just being there, it's kind of hard for them to do that. It's like me taking on this little sand trooper and saying, hey, fuck you, because it's easy for me to destroy it, because I'm a human being. I am a larger-than-life thing to that little toy. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about The Last Jedi. Holy shit, this movie is fantastic. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. You were amazing. We loved you in everything you did, especially Scream 3. That shit was fucking hilarious. Holy shit, Scream 3 was the first horror movie I ever saw. It's one of my favorites, just because of that Carrie Fisher cameo. So, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. Princess, come back to us. I'm going to give Star Wars The Last Jedi an A+. Just kidding, I'm giving that shit an A-. I hated that fucking casino. Peace out, guys.